Hi, I'm Erin Dubich. I'm the dietitian for FitCode, and I am here to talk about the main guidelines for our Lean Genes Boot Camp. The nutrition is a really critical component of maximum results on this program. You can attend your 4 sessions of boot camp a week, but if you're not giving 100% for the nutrition, then you're not going to do as great as you can do. And this is coming straight from my own experience in life, but I've talked to so many boot campers who have done our program at least one time, and some of them didn't give their all to the nutrition. They just went to the classes primarily, and then the next time around they paid attention to their nutrition 100%, and it made a significant difference. So your number one priority is nutrition and adhering to the guidelines that I'm going to talk about now. The first guideline that I'm going to tell you about is to eat every 3 hours, every 2 to 4 hours, on average about 3. And this is for a few different reasons. One reason is that you will tend to want to overeat less later in the day. So if you miss meals, you are familiar with that starving, I need to eat a lot of food feeling at the end of the day. And we want to prevent that. So you eat every few hours. Another reason is that because every time you digest and absorb food, you burn calories. And so just simply by eating more often, you're burning extra all throughout the day, especially protein. When protein is a component of every meal and snack, you actually burn more calories digesting protein than you do carbohydrates or fats, which leads me to this next rule. But actually, I want to go back and say that eating every few hours may seem difficult for you if you don't do this, but what you really need to do is you really need to look at your schedule and see what is kind of in the way of you eating every few hours, and then you find a way to deal with it. And so there were some teachers on our Skinny Jeans boot camp last time, and they said that it was very difficult for them to eat every 2 or 3 hours because they're in the classroom. And so one of the things that some of them, actually a couple of them, did is they made their protein drink or their protein smoothie and they put it in a coffee mug because they can have that there with them, and that's what they sipped on. Or people kept a little thing of trail mix in their desk. Find whatever you need to do, whether it's you have a long commute and that kind of gets in the way, or you have a job where you usually don't make time to eat, and make it happen. Set a timer on your phone, write out a schedule on a piece of paper, eat every few hours. The second rule is to eat protein every time you have a meal or a snack. What you want to aim for within your breakfast, lunch, and dinner is anywhere from 15 to 30 grams of protein. For snacks, you want to aim for 5 to 10 grams of protein. And for your meals, the best source of protein that you can go for is an animal source, and eggs are one of the best foods as far as nutrient quality. So eggs are a great option. Dairy products, because one of the 2 proteins in dairy, which is whey protein, is the most effective protein as far as muscle recovery and regeneration. Lean poultry, organic grass-fed beef, fatty fish like salmon, which is high in omega-3s, and those are some ideas. But I'll talk a little bit about protein in another video on more specific examples. And so the next rule after that is to eat vegetables every time you eat. So protein and vegetables every time you eat, protein plus produce. And as far as vegetables, what you really want to aim for is a variety. And so for an example, you can have spinach and asparagus in your omelet. You can have roasted red peppers in a salad. You can have snap peas to dip in hummus. You can have a sweet potato for your post-workout dinner. And so really get creative and buy different things at the supermarket every time you're there to get a variety of nutrient intakes in. And so the low-carb vegetables, things like greens, salad greens, tomatoes, mushrooms, onions, asparagus, artichokes, there's a ton of them. you can have as many of those low-carb vegetables as you can eat all day. You want to stay hydrated on that note with all the fiber you'll be taking in. Eat carbs when you deserve to. And so post-workout is the time where you definitely want to get your good carbohydrates in. Carbohydrates help the muscle uptake the protein, and so don't get all gung-ho about low carb, no carb, because you really want to get your nutrient-rich carbohydrates in post-workout. And some really good examples of this are oatmeal, sweet potatoes, wild rice, quinoa, lentils, beans. Those foods all have carbohydrates, but they all have fiber as well. And so if in the case that you work out in the evening and you have a very active day, you don't want to go all day long without eating any carbohydrates. So even within the low-carb fruit and the low-carb veggie options, you're still getting some carbohydrates, so they do contribute a little bit to the energy. But like I said, if you work out at night and you're active all day, you can include a small serving of carbohydrates earlier in your day to kind of, keep up the motivation to work out later, or to include a small serving of carbohydrates about an hour and a half before your workout, so that you can maximize the benefit of the workout. The next guideline is to include healthy fats. So just by nature of decreasing the amount of sugar and decreasing the amount of empty calorie type foods, you'll have some room as far as calories in your diet, and you want to include healthy fats because they do contribute some nutrition. They help you to stay full and satisfied so that you aren't craving sugar or craving something bad later in the day. And avocados, nuts, seeds, nut butters, an olive oil based salad dressing, cooking your lean poultry in a little bit of healthy oils is a good idea, so that you can stay satisfied. The next rule is it's probably one of the hardest rules for people, and that is to ditch calorie containing drinks. And this includes all of the fancy schmancy drinks at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. No juices, no energy drinks, no Red Bull or Monster. Actually, that's kind of a rule for life, not to drink those things because they're full of chemicals and artificial ingredients. So you don't want those at all. But really, the only beverages that contribute something are your post-workout drink, your protein smoothies, if that's what you choose to do as a snack or a meal, milk. So if it is a beverage that contains something that's contributing to your body, it's contributing nutrients to your body, then that's okay, with the exception of juice. Because even if it's 100% fruit juice, there's no added sugar. However, it's concentrated, and that does nothing as far as keeping you full. It's just a quick load of sugar. So no juice, unless you want to count that as one of your non-compliant meals. And so that goes to another rule that we have, is to keep the 90% compliance log. You want to keep your compliance log all 6 weeks. And, as we've said in orientation, and you may have heard a couple times already, the most successful boot campers keep the compliance charts and the food logs for the entire 6 weeks, not just for the first 2 weeks that we ask you to submit them. And this is key because it really makes you take a good look at what you're eating, how often you're eating, what food choices you're making. And so the 4 times during the week that is your 10% off, those 4 times, if you have a glass of wine, if you have a cookie, even if it's, say a bowl of sugary cereal and you haven't worked out, that counts as non-compliant because A, it's full of sugar, and B, it's not after your workout. You're having a giant load of carbohydrates. So be really discriminant in what you count as your 10%. Another rule, and by nature you probably will end up following this rule, and that is to focus on whole, fresh foods. So those foods that don't come with a huge ingredient list or might not even come with a label at all, like fresh produce and fresh seafood, fresh lean, good raised meats. Cooking from scratch is where it's at. And another really important guideline is to develop food preparation strategies, and this ranges from looking at your schedule and saying, okay, on Sunday from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I'm going to make my list, I'm going to go shopping, I'm going to prep my food. And now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably a terrible time to go to the supermarket is on Sunday, but if it's your only chance to go then, but sometimes getting in there on a weeknight, it's easier to get in and out of the supermarket then. But you want to make a list. You want to take a look at what you have in the refrigerator so you don't waste things. You want to see what you can make from it, find out what else you need, go to the grocery store, and then pick 1 or 2 times during the week where you chop up some vegetables, you put things in containers to take to work, you write down, your meal plan if that's what you want. And so it takes extra time and extra effort, but it is completely worth it. I'm sure there are things that you do during the week that our time sucks. So those few hours that you're adding to do food prep can be easily found other places. Instead of watching TV or being on the internet or something like that. And then the last guideline is to try to get as much variety as possible. So instead of just sticking to the same snack, every Monday at 11 a.m. you have bell pepper strips with hummus. Break out of the rut. Snap peas. Try those. Try a different vegetable at dinner. Try some different vegetables on your salad. Different vegetables on your omelet. Same thing that goes with fruit. Although there are less low carbohydrate fruits that you can have. So different kinds of berries, for example, are a great idea. I'll get into those a little bit later. But try not to eat the same foods all the time. That'll help you with a better balanced nutrient intake, and it'll also help with beating food boredom.